The retirement planning model in Australia, and really globally, was built for a version of retirement that no longer exists. The full age pension for a single person pays around $31,000 a year, just over $1,200 a fortnight. When I looked at the real numbers, I could not unsee them. The median balance is sitting around $52,000 for women and $66,000 for men. That's across all ages. The Australian superannuation industry holds $3.9 trillion in assets, and these funds are investing your money into shares, property, infrastructure, bonds. They've got a diversified growth portfolio, and in the last financial year, their balanced option returned around 9.5%. So the money is growing, but welcome to Rich and Regulated, where women learn to build wealth in alignment and flow. I'm Jessica Soul. For over a decade, I've helped women create the lives of their dreams, and here I'll share how I build wealth, fast-track results, and reveal money truths that will blow your mind. Let's get wealthy. So let me tell you something that most people in this space won't say out aloud. I don't have superannuation personally. So there it is. A lot of people ask me that question. I've been a business owner for most of my adult life, and to be honest, I never paid my own super. There was a small amount sitting there at one stage from employment years ago, and honestly, it was so small that when it did end up being gone, I wasn't really devastated because I looked at what I actually had in the account and I thought this was never going to add up anyway. This was never going to be the thing that saved me in my retirement. And that realization in some ways made me angry. Not at myself, but at the story I had been told around what that money was supposed to be for me and my family. And so today we are talking about that story because most of the women listening to this do have super. And a lot of you are watching it tick up every quarter and telling yourself that that is your future sorted. And what I want to ask you, what I genuinely need to ask you, is whether you've actually run the numbers. Like the real numbers, what the balance is going to be worth when you get to the other end, what it's going to cost to live, whether those two things even come close to meeting each other. Because for me, when I looked at the real numbers, I could not unsee them. The median superannuation balance in Australia, and I want to use the median, not the average, because averages get pulled up by people at the very top and they paint a rosier picture than the reality. So the median balance is sitting around $52,000 for women and $66,000 for men. That's across all ages. For people actually approaching retirement between 60 to 64, the average lifts to around $313,000 for women and $396,000 for men. Now, what does $313,000 actually buy you? So, ASFA, the Association of Superannuation Funds of Australia, the industry's own peak body, publishes what they call the retirement standard. What it actually costs to live a comfortable retirement in this country. Not luxury, not business class flights and a boat, comfortable. Private health insurance, a decent car, a holiday here and there, air conditioning, just a normal life. And so for a single homeowner, that number right now is around $54,840 a year. And the lump sum you need sitting in super at the age of 67 to generate that income, $595,000. So the average woman retiring today who has $313,000, she actually needs $595,000. And this is not a small gap. This is a chasm. And most people are never actually looking at this directly. So let's talk about what $54,840 actually gets you, because I want to bring this out of the abstract and into real life for a second. So I went to the grocery store recently. I bought the ingredients for a chicken curry, right? For a family of 6, just the curry, nothing extravagant, some berries to have for dessert. It came to $100. I made lasagna on Monday night with organic mince and it was $61. So my weekly grocery bill for a family that eats well, values organic food, it's sitting around $700 a week. That alone is $36,000 a year just for food. And I'm not talking about eating out at restaurants. I'm not talking about flying anywhere, having holidays. I'm just talking about cooking dinner. And so if you do the maths, $54,840 a year, $36,000 a year of it gone on groceries before you've paid a single other bill, and that's at today's prices. So by the time somebody in their 30s or 40s gets to retirement age, what do we think the food is going to cost? This is why I get frustrated when people talk about retirement planning in a vacuum, like the cost of living is some fixed, stable, manageable thing, because it is not. It is increasing faster than wages, faster than superannuation returns, faster than the pension adjustments, and the plan that was designed for your parents is not designed for the life that you actually want to live. Speaking of which, let's talk about longevity, because this is the part of the conversation that almost nobody is having. The retirement planning model in Australia, and really globally, was built for a version of retirement that no longer exists. It assumed that you finished work around 65, you slowed down, you spent modestly, and you didn't really live all that long after. The numbers were calculated for a generation of retirees who genuinely did slow down. They stayed at home, who were honestly old in a way that people today are just not. Look around at the women I know, the women in my community, the women listening to this podcast. These are not women who are planning to be shuffling around in a walking frame at the age of 75. These are the women who are on biohacking protocols right now, tracking their hormones, getting into the gym, doing peptides, ice baths, obsessing over their sleep quality and blood panels and longevity metrics, because no one in our world intends to be slow at the age of 80. So we're not slowing down, we're in fact speeding up. And that is extraordinary, and it's also extraordinarily expensive. Because if you are planning to be vital, active, traveling, living a full life at 75, 80, 85, which is exactly what the women I surround myself with are planning for, then you're not planning for a modest retirement. You're planning for decades of full throttle living. And I can tell you $313,000 in a balanced fund is not going to fund that life. It does not come close. Just quickly, guys, if you're a woman who's earning well but still feels like your money isn't working for you, I can help. My Build Your Wealth portal is the perfect place to begin, and for less than $100 a month, I'll teach you the exact groundwork that has allowed me to create freedom for my family. Just hit the link in the show notes to connect into my community today. Now back to the episode. So right now, as of April 2026, the full age pension for a single person pays around $31,000 a year, just over $1,200 a fortnight. So $31,223 a year. And I just told you that my grocery bill is $36,000 a year. So that pension doesn't even cover my food. And yet, planning to be on the pension or even planning to supplement your lifestyle with it is somehow this baseline expectation for millions of Australians. It's considered a plan, and I can tell you it is not a plan. It is the absence of a plan. And here's the thing that really has to land. Around 63% of Australians over 67 are receiving some form of the pension. And this is not an exception. This is not what happens to people who didn't try. This is the mainstream outcome of following mainstream advice. So get a job, trust your employer to pay your super, leave it in the default fund, don't touch it, retire at 67 and hope for the best. That is the plan. And it's producing pensioners. And if this is already making something click for you, if you've been sitting on the edges of the crypto conversation and you haven't quite taken the first step, I want to make that easy for you right now, because I have a free crypto community called Crypto for Women, and it's exactly what it sounds like. A space full of women who are waking up to this, asking questions and getting answers without the noise and without the bros. The link for that is in the show notes, so come and join us. It costs absolutely nothing and it might just change everything for you. All right, so back to the money. Now let's talk about the fund itself, because I think it's worth naming what's actually happening with your money while it sits in there. So the Australian superannuation industry holds 3.9 trillion in assets. The largest fund, Australian Super, manages over 385 billion for about 3.5 million members. And these are some of the most powerful pools of capital on the planet. And these funds are investing your money into shares, property, infrastructure, bonds. They've got a diversified growth portfolio. And in the last financial year, their balanced option returned around 9.5%. The year before that, double digits. So the money is growing. I want to be fair about that. But here's what I want you to think about. That fund is returning 9 or 10% in a growth year. Your money is in there compounding, and you have no say on where it goes. You cannot choose to increase your allocation to an asset class that's outperforming. You cannot move quickly when you see an opportunity. You cannot choose to hold even $1 of it in something outside of their approved investment menu. And you cannot touch it until they say you can, which in most cases is not until your mid to late 60s. It is locked. It's managed by people you've never met. It's in an institution you have never engaged with, making decisions you have zero visibility into. And this is not ownership. That's an illusion of a safety net. And I want to be really, really transparent about my position here. I am not a financial advisor. I am not a superannuation specialist, and I am not telling you to blow up your super or do anything reckless. What I am telling you is that accepting the default, believing that super is the strategy, that super is the answer, and that it's going to fund the life you actually want to live, that's a choice. And it's a choice that deserves to be made consciously, with real numbers in front of you, not just because that's what everyone else is doing, because the alternatives do exist. So there are women right now who have taken control of their superannuation through self-managed structures and are making active decisions about their retirement capital. Legally, compliantly, with clear strategies, the ATO allows superannuation funds to invest in crypto assets. Bitcoin inside super is not a fringe conversation. It's happening, and the returns for the people who have been doing it with education and strategy behind them are not comparable to what a balanced fund is producing. So I'm not asking you to bet on your retirement with altcoins. I'm asking you to consider that the binary you've been presented with, either you trust the system or you're reckless, that's a false one. There is a version of this where you are educated, where you understand the assets, where you have a framework and a risk strategy and an allocation that makes sense for your situation, where your money is actually yours, in custody, in control, compounding on your terms. And this, guys, is not speculation. This is sovereignty over your own financial future. And it's available to everybody right now. And here's what I know about the women who start building real wealth. There is always a moment right before they do it, a moment of discomfort, where the numbers don't feel like they're adding up anymore, where they've done all the maths, or someone has done the maths for them, and they cannot go back to pretending that the default is going to be enough. Maybe that's this moment for you. You're in your 30s or 40s. You have time, not unlimited time, but real, usable time to build something that actually funds the life you're planning. Not the modest life, not the pension supplemented life, the full life, the one where you're still going hard at 75 and you have financial foundation to do it. And the women I work with who are building that life, they're not lucky, they're not crypto bros in disguise. They are just educated, strategic, sovereign women who made one decision: to stop accepting the default and start building something that actually belongs to them. And if this is landing for you, if the numbers I've walked through today are sitting in your chest a little bit uncomfortably, then good. That discomfort is information. It means your nervous system is catching up with what your brain already knows. And so here's where you go from here. If you haven't already, come and join Crypto for Women. It's completely free. The link is in the show notes. And it's the best first step that you could take today. Just be in the room where this conversation is normal. If you're ready to go a step further and you want to actually understand crypto, how it works, how to buy it safely, how to hold it properly, then my Unbanked course, it's just $197 AUD, and it will give you the foundation that most people spend years trying to piece together. It is the place to start if you want to put real knowledge behind this. And if you're ready to go all in, if you want to sit in calls with me, get access to a full library of resources, and actually build a strategy that works for you, then Crypto Foundations is where that will happen. And the link for everything is in the show notes. And I want you to know you don't have to figure this out alone. You do not have to go down every rabbit hole on YouTube at midnight. You do not have to wait until you feel ready, because I promise you, you will never feel ready by osmosis. You just have to start, and you know where to find me. If you've gotten value from today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave a 5-star review. And if you're ready for more support in building regulated wealth strategies, check out the link in the show notes. Have a beautiful day.